We are back watching AEW Dynamite live on TV. I just came from Grand Slam last week. Now I'm back in my chair watching the show, and I got a review of AEW Dynamite this week before I head back out for a Dynamite next week, which will be in Philadelphia. There's a lot to cover in this episode. One of the most interesting things that happened was a Cody Rhodes promo that I'll be getting into, a preview of next week's card, and this week's Rampage, which is sure to be one of the best Rampages they have done. That is not the 2-hour Rampage we saw last week. AEW Dynamite moving to TBS in January, and a rumored new championship coming soon. Why I may have been wrong about New Japan Pro Wrestling, and a Q&A section of the podcast. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the 67th edition of the Chill Spill Pro Wrestling podcast. The S is silent, by the way.
I'll pull out the Glock, put it on his forehead, and spill his brains all over the concrete.
Yo, what is going on, guys? It is your boy Tyler Kuhn Williams, aka Suplex. That's SOOPLEX on TikTok and SOOPLEXX on Twitch.tv, aka the one who lived. And guys, welcome back to the 67th edition of the Chill Spill Pro Wrestling Podcast. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you heard that right. This podcast has officially been renamed to the Chill Spill Pro Wrestling Podcast. It first started off as the Chill Pill Podcast. That was just chill and then pill and then podcast. And that was the name of the podcast, I believe, for like the first, I want to say 15 or 16 episodes. And then I later renamed it after my channel got deleted to Chill Pill Restarto. Which then afterwards, I kept the logo the same, but I ended up changing the podcast name to the Chill Spill Podcast. And the reason why I changed it to Chill Spill and added the S was because in the search engine, Chill Pill was a very like easily searchable name. Like that's a phrase, chill pill, like take a chill pill. And there was many other podcasts out there with the name Chill Pill. So I was like, okay, that's not smart to name it Chill Pill. And with the word restarto in there was just unnecessary. So I'm like, all right, rename it Chill Spill. Well, I've been doing my research, doing some analytics searching, some SEOs, watching some videos. And I come to the conclusion that I think it's a better move for the podcast to have the word pro wrestling in there. I named this Chill Pill because originally this was going to be an all-rounded podcast. I was going to talk about wrestling and video games and TV shows and all that kind of stuff. And while I do talk about that stuff sometimes, rarely if even, I mainly talk about pro wrestling. And that's what my audience tunes in for, is to hear me talk about pro wrestling. So I feel like it only makes sense for it to have the word pro wrestling in there now. So yes, after 67 episodes, this is now officially a pro wrestling podcast. And I'm not saying you'll never hear me reference anything outside of pro wrestling ever again. That's not what I'm saying. But because it is pro wrestling centered, it should have the word pro wrestling in there. So yes, this is the Chill Spill Pro Wrestling Podcast. The S is still silent in pill. Don't forget about that. I did not have a clever catchphrase for the pill part. Well, let me rephrase it. So this is the Chill Spill Pro Wrestling Podcast, and the S is silent, much like, I don't know, I didn't have anything planned this week. I'm sorry. I only had the whole changing of the name. But yeah, guys, this is the Chill Spill Pro Wrestling Podcast, and let's talk about AEW, which is my favorite wrestling promotion. Any new viewers out there, any returning viewers should not be surprised by that. I attended AEW Grand Slam last week. I was there live in New York City at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Well, Queens, New York. For Arthur Ashe Stadium, the AEW Grand Slam Dynamite and Rampage show. The results are back for the ratings. AEW Grand Slam Dynamite did a rating of a 1.27 million. It's a good rating. I think many fans expected higher. I thought it was going to get at least 1.5, but 1.7 is still good. I think it's the third or fourth highest rating they've ever done. And here's the thing. AEW has now consistently been putting on 1 million viewer shows. Like, that is basically their average now. Like, back in June when they were doing it, it's like, okay, cool, they're on an upward trend. But this has been, like, the norm for, like, the last 3-4 months. So anytime they did below 1 million is almost going to be like a uh-oh kind of thing for fans now. So as long as they're maintaining 1 million, I consider it a win for them. When they dip below 1 million, that means they're doing something wrong. But if they're maintaining 1 million, that's good. Now, if they can increase and get up to 1.5, that I think it's very possible. They already have Bryan Danielson and CM Punk. I don't know if there's any bigger acquisitions in wrestling than those two men right now. So I think right now that medium of 1.2, 1.3 is going to be where they're at, the happy spot. Like I said, there's potential for 1.5. I don't know when that's going to be, probably in the near future. But it goes up from here. There's going to be peaks and valleys. There's going to be some weeks where they probably do dip below 1 million. But right now, they're on the up and up, and that's all that matters. AEW Grand Slam Rampage last week did a 772,000 viewer. Not their highest. I believe that's their second or third highest. The first highest being the First Dance, the second Rampage that CM Punk debuted on, which did 1.22 million. So I guess if you compare these to their highest numbers, this might be a quote-unquote disappointing number. But I think these are both really good numbers. So I'm not upset about these at all. Not that I have anything to be upset about with the ratings, because that doesn't really matter to me. But I wanted to bring that up because I know a lot of you care about the ratings. So it was worth talking about for a little bit. Let's talk about AEW Dynamite. I rarely, if ever, do reviews for AEW. Last time I did a review was probably back in, I want to say July or August. So here we are talking about this show again. I enjoyed the show overall. We started off with Jungle Boy versus Adam Cole, which was the match I was looking forward to the most. I thought it was a good TV match. It wasn't anything like spectacular or anything, but you know, they're both really similar in their styles and in their builds. You know, both using the super kicks, both being faster, but not like high flying, but like faster paced wrestlers. It was a little slow to start, but like it was a 10 to 15 minute match, so it didn't last very long. Once they kicked into high gear, that's when the match really started to, you know, go off the rails or whatnot. Super kicks here, a Panama Sunrise from Adam Cole, which Jungle Boy kicked out of, which shocked the hell out of me and everybody in the arena. I don't think I would have had Jungle Boy kick out of that move, especially because Adam Cole has only been in AEW for like a month. So it's like having Jungle Boy kick out just seemed a little fast. Like, I don't know. I would have built that move up some more. You know what I mean? That's a finishing move. Not everyone should kick out of it. And I don't remember people kicking out of that move very often in NXT either. So, I don't know. I wouldn't have had Jungle Boy kick out, but he kicked out of it. So, after Jungle Boy kicks out of the move, he locks in the snare trap on Adam Cole. So, he has a snare trap locked in, and Adam Cole, he's crawling, he makes the ropes. Now, he gets up, and he corners the referee, corners Aubrey Edwards, and Jungle Boy's going to grab him. He low blows Jungle Boy, back kicks him right in the dick, and then hits him with the boom, which he calls the last shot in NXT, that running Shining Wizard, and he gets the pin. Adam Cole winning this match, and I'm like, okay, I'm not mad at the result. I look forward to a rematch very soon. After the match, they get to a commercial break, they come back, the Elite's in the ring, they're all cutting promos. The Young Bucks talk about being EVPs, extremely violent people. Adam Cole adds that he's undefeated. Kenny hops on and self-indulges and, you know, how good he is. This brings out Bryan Danielson. So it seems like they're not done yet with the Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega feud, which, you know, I'm all for it because they had an amazing match last week and they're going to have another amazing match in the future. He calls Kenny no balls Omega because Kenny won't accept his challenge. Bryan then ramps up the challenge by wanting to take on a member of the Elites. And Kenny says, no, fuck off. He didn't actually say fuck off, but, you know, Bryan Danielson's like, okay, well, if you guys want to take us on right now, I have some backup. He brings out Frank Kazarian. He brings out Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, Marco Stunt. And they all storm the ring, and the Elite leaves. So that's setting up for a match next week, which I'll bring up a little bit later on. We got to a backstage promo with Andrade El Idolo, who I don't know what they're doing with Andrade. It seemed like they entered him in. He was one of the first people who was released from WWE that debuted in AEW this year. They brought him in, and he's been directionless almost the entire time. They brought him in June. He's had like 3 matches so far. One against Matt Sydal. He's had another match mixed in somewhere, and then he had the match with Pac, and that's it. And then on top of that, the entire time he's been in AEW, it's been this almost, I don't want to say on and off because it was on for like the last 2 months, but then they kind of just fizzled it out right after All Out. So it's really off now, but then they just brought it back on. This on and off feud between himself, the Lucha Bros, and Pat. Like, I really want them to do something with Andrade, and I feel like they don't know what they want to do with him just yet. So he cuts off the Lucha Bros. The Andrade's advisor, I can't call him the manager because he's always there with the iPad but never speaks. He actually says something, and he's like, well, the Lucha Bros, you haven't defended your AAA tag titles in a long time, and they're due for a defense. So, and then he gets cut off, and Andrade's like, yeah, I have some luchador friends that I would like to challenge for those championships. So not him, not himself, but some of his friends to challenge for those championships. Now, speculating on who that could be, we're talking AAA here. They have that forbidden door, that open door. People keep calling it forbidden door. Can we just call it the open door now? Like, we've seen Impact Wrestling, we've seen AAA, we've seen New Japan walk through those doors. It's not a forbidden door anymore, bro. It's literally just an open door policy. You literally could just walk into AEW at this point. But the forbidden door is going to be open again. Who could it be? You know, originally when we were talking about possibilities of guys coming in with Andrade, a lot of people were saying, oh, how about Rush? And I thought, okay, Rush is a good idea. But I don't think it's going to be Rush because he said like a tag team, like it won't be Andrade. So I'm like, well, is it going to be like Rush and somebody else from, Los Ingobernables? But don't ask me who's a part of Los Ingobernables in Mexico because I don't watch AAA. Maybe like not Bandito. Maybe like Bandito. Is Bandito part of AAA, or I think he might be Ring of Honor bound. I don't know. I'm thinking of Bandito. I'm thinking of Flamita. I'm thinking of Rey Oras. I'm thinking of all these luchadors in my head. So like I mean I'm here for it. Depending on when it happens, it should be really fun and really good. It seems like they're gonna have that AAA championship defended on AEW television and not the AEW Tag Team Championships. But it should be fun. It should be fun. I just really want them to figure out what they want to do with Andrade and get him in a feud very soon because he's just floating on the roster right now. And that's kind of the thing when you have a roster as stacked as AEW does right now. You have CM Punk and Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole just coming in and all the other names in there. Somebody is bound to get lost in the shuffle, and right now it seems to be Andrade. So hopefully they get him something to do. But after that, we hop into another match. Dante Martin and Matt Sydal versus Lee Johnson and Cody Rhodes. I did a whole video on why fans dislike Cody Rhodes just 2 days ago. And on this show, Cody Rhodes comes out and immediately you can hear mixed reaction. You hear some people cheering him, some people booing him. And I'm like, the boos are audible. That's good. That's good. It's going to humble Cody. He comes out to the ring. You know what I mean? The bell rings. Cody gets into the ring. Like, I think he's talking to like Lee Johnson and Arn Anderson, and he interjects himself into the ring like he's starting off first. And the crowd starts a Cody sucks chant. I'm like, wow. So I wasn't expecting like a Cody sucks chant. Like, I know some people don't like Cody Rhodes. I'm one of those people, but I didn't expect like a very audible, like everybody can hear it, Cody sucks chant. Like, that's majority of the people chanting Cody sucks. And you could see like visually it's bothering Cody, which now I'm believing is actually character-wise. Like, this is, bothering him, which is a good thing. And we see throughout the match, the crowd's booing Cody. They're cheering for Lee. They're cheering for Matt. They're obviously cheering for Dante because Dante's like such a bright young star. Both Dante and Lee Johnson were having some of the best spots in here. I want to see these guys have a singles match in the near future. Matt Sydal, he's cool. But let me stop with Matt Sydal. Matt Sydal's good. He's really good. I remember his days as Evan Bourne. I liked him. He's just, not as fast as Dante or Lee, especially Dante. But then when Cody Rhodes would come in, he would get like booed again. So let's just fast forward to the end of the match because I really want to get into this promo portion. So Lee Johnson, he tags himself in. He hits a patella brainbuster onto Dante Martin and gets the pin for the Nightmare Factory. He wins the match for his team. Cody Rhodes hops on a microphone and the crowd starts booing him again. I'm like, yes, I like this. So Cody's all a little discombobulated looking around, but he gets back into the zone and he calls out Malachi Black. And and the crowd cheers. They're like, yeah, bring out Malachi Black. I'm sitting here like, Cody, you lost twice. You want to face him again? I'm like, all right, bro. So Arn takes the microphone and he tells Cody to stop talking. I'm like, yes, Thank God someone told Cody to shut up, and it was Arn Anderson of all people. I love it. So Arn is making some sense here. He's talking about how Malachi Black came into the picture and he systematically has destroyed the Nightmare family, and now Cody's not himself. First match in, Cody loses. He takes off his boot like he's going to retire. Like, what is that all about? The second match in, he loses, and now Cody's all distracted. He's going underneath the ring. He doesn't know what to do. He's worried about Arn's safety, like just win the damn match. Arn's out here, he's being a coach. He's talking some sense to Cody. And Arn goes to point out differences between himself and Cody. Cody gets pulled over at a red light, and a guy goes to rob him, jerks the door open, and puts a gun up to Cody's head. And Cody would say, "Okay, take it, just please don't hurt me." Arn says if he's in that situation and a guy comes up to his door, jerks it open, and tries to rob him, Arn pulls out the Glock. When Arn said he pulls out the Glock, I almost damn near fucking lost it, bro. But Arn says, I pull out the Glock, I put it to his head, and I spill his brains out. And the crowd pops huge. I popped huge. I'm like, Arn. Bro, that was like the funniest part of the whole segment. Arn's a whole OG, and I love it. But Arn then he's like, listen, I ain't here to coach damn losers. But he calls over Lee Johnson. He's like, come on, Lee. At least Lee listens to me. And he leaves. He and Lee leaves Cody Rhodes in the ring, all sad and figuring himself out. And I love this. I love this. I know a lot of you might be shocked by me saying this, but yes, I love this. Because this is an arc. This is something that Cody Rhodes desperately needed. This is not an immediate heel turn. And I said this on last week's episode of the Chill Spill podcast. I don't think Cody Rhodes should just turn on Lee Johnson or attack Arn. Like, it doesn't need to be something as black and white as he's attacking somebody from his family. Let Cody wonder what's wrong with himself. Cody has to question himself now. That's what's so interesting about this new direction of his character. Cody doesn't know what's going on. The crowd has turned on him. Now his coach has not turned on him, but his coach has almost turned his back on him. Like, like you get your shit together is what Arn Anderson basically told him. I'm not here to coach losers, and you lost twice, and it's all your fault. This is your fight, and you're not winning it. So until you get your shit together, like, we're done. He didn't say that, but that's what he's implying. And now Cody kind of has to dig down deep into his inner self, into his morale, into what he believes in, and really ask himself, like, is what he's doing now really not working? And if it's not working, what does he have to do to change that? And that's when you lean into the heel turn. Now, it's all about how they go about it. They've already planted seeds for a heel turn. It's been planted right here, right now. It's all about the delivery, and it's all about the execution. How they execute it. Like I said, I do not think he should attack Arn Anderson. I don't think he should attack Lee Johnson. I don't think he should attack Brand. I don't think it should be anybody from the Nightmare family. It should just be something that's unrelenting. It should be something that is a bit more slow. I think this is a nice pace. I can definitely see Cody turning within the next month or so. I don't feel like it should be next week. It don't have to be immediate. Let it play out a little bit. I want to see Cody really struggle. I think right now what should happen is Cody needs to go on a losing streak. This has already started with him losing to Malachi Black, and he didn't win the match here. It was Lee Johnson who won the match. I would have Cody Rhodes maybe challenge Dante Martin next week, and then he loses. I mean, it's not happening because obviously he's not confirmed. And then he loses. He straight up loses to Dante Martin. And then he challenges somebody else, and he loses again. And he challenges somebody else, and he loses again. And then after that sixth loss, then Cody decides, okay, maybe cheating is an option. And he starts cheating. And then it's like, well, that's not exactly what I told you to do. I think Cody should start cheating. I think Cody should start looking to the dark side, maybe looking at other options. I don't think he needs to attack anybody. It should be subtle, but in your face enough for you to see what's coming. And when it does come, you're like, boo. You have no choice but to boo Cody. That's what it should be. It shouldn't be outright, but it should be in your face enough that you don't like Cody. it's not quite Dark Superman just yet. Because remember, in Injustice Comics, Superman essentially turned into a villain after something really tragic happened to him. After the Joker killed his wife, killed Lois Lane, that drove Superman over the edge. There hasn't been that moment to drive Cody over the edge just yet. Yeah, he lost to Malachi Black twice, but you're not going to lose your fucking mind over 2 losses. Something drastic needs to happen to Cody Rhodes. He needs to lose something like really personal to go over the edge. I don't know what that is in this exact moment. Maybe give me some time to think about it. But there needs to be an event that happens that makes a shift in Cody's mind. This isn't it, but this is a nice start. If they could keep this up, I will change my perspective on Cody Rhodes. Now, mind you, I'll boo him because I'm supposed to boo him. But I'll turn a new leaf on Cody Rhodes, possibly. I like it so far. But let's move on. So, after all that, I credit the AEW and Cody Rhodes for what they're doing now. We get into Bear Country and Anthony Creed? What's his name? Anthony Creed, Anthony Green? I don't know. Bear Country and other guy versus Darby Allin, Jon Moxley, and Eddie Kingston. It was a match that was on the card. It literally just happened. It was nothing special. You didn't miss much if you didn't miss it. But hey, here's one thing that I don't see a lot of people talking about that I want to bring up. So at the very end of the match, the Anthony guy goes to do a dive onto Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley and they no-sell it. He gets bulldozed, basically. They get him up. They hit their tag team finisher, German suplex lariat combo. And he's in position for a coffin drop. Because in the past, when they did 6-man tags, they do the move. Darby Allin does the coffin drop. He gets the pin. So he's in the corner of the ring. Darby's going to the top rope, about to do the coffin drop. Now, Darby's not legal, but he can still hit it. Rather than let Darby hit the move, Jon Moxley goes for the pin. And you could see Darby's confused. He's like, I was about to hit. I thought we were doing, the thing we usually do, but okay. Like, he's not frustrated, but you could see there's confusion on his face. Like, okay, this is not what I intended to happen. But then they add a little bit more to it. And this was very subtle. And if you weren't picking up on it, you won't see how it might play into something in the future. But, since they started teaming up, because this Darby, Sting, Moxley, Kingston pairing has been going on for the last 2 months now, which I like. And every week it seems like they kind of celebrate with Sting and Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. They celebrate together. And Darby's kind of, celebrating with them. I feel like it's always Sting, Moxley, and Eddie, and then Sting, and then Darby's celebrating with those 3. It's not really all 4 of them celebrating. It's just a Darby celebrating with them. Well, this week, after Darby doesn't go for the dive, he gets off the rope, and he just goes outside. And Eddie and Moxley kind of invite Sting into the ring, and they pose while Darby's outside the ring. Just kind of looking on. Now, afterwards, he kind of claps. He's like, yeah, give it up for those guys, da-da-da. But I could see it on Darby's face. He is bothered. He was bothered by that. He was very bothered by the fact that not only did they add him out of the finish, but then they didn't add him into the celebration at all. He was casted out, in a sense. Like I said, I don't think it was intentional. I don't think it was intentional on the end of Moxley and Kingston. And I don't think it was intentional on the end of Sting to not include Darby, but they didn't. And it was bothersome to him. Now, he did play it off, but it was something I noticed. And I think this may be where they're heading. This may be heading for Darby splitting from Sting. I don't think it's going to lead to a turn. I don't think Darby's going to turn on Sting. I don't think Darby's going to turn on Moxley and Kingston. But I think what's probably happening is that we might see some more tag team action with these 4 or 3. And we're going to see Darby Allin get distant from Sting. Because also pick up on the fact that in previous tag team matches that Sting and Darby have had, each and every single time they have this tag team match together, Sting gets the pin every single time. And it ends up always being about how good Sting looks. It's all about Sting and not really about Darby when they're teaming up together. It's only about Darby when Darby's in singles action. When they're together, it's really about Sting. So I think that's going to mess with Darby's psyche a bit, and then he's going to decide to split apart from him. But that's my speculation. I like the little subtlety there. Now, right after the fact, we saw Lio Rush. Lio Rush is all elite. Lio Rush is coming in, backstage segment. He's the LBO, which stands for leverage buyout. Basically insinuating that he bought some shares, or at least he's a stakeholder in AEW, with the intent to sell that later for his benefit. Which is an interesting gimmick. A little similar to the Cameron Grimes gimmick in NXT, but Cameron Grimes, I believe he just hit money by investing in GameStop stocks. Like, I think Leo is a bit more invested in the stocks, and he actually bought out a portion of the company. I'm curious as to how they're going to play out the LBO. Like, is he going to have, like, a play on TV with that role, or is it just a name? I don't think it should just be a name. I think they should have Lio Rush, actually, maybe once in a blue moon, change a matchup. Or say he wants something done. And then maybe he'll like flaunt the fact that, hey, I have a stake in the company. I could do what I want. I think that would be something different. That'd be something new that AEW can do. That's what I would do with Lio Rush. I don't have it mapped out yet because I just started thinking about it, but that's what I would do. And after this, we got into an 8-man tag. Did not like the fact that there was 16 people involved in this match, but we had an 8-man tag. We had all the Dark Order versus all of the Hardy family office. We had all the Dark Order and Orange Cassidy. Let me correct that. Orange Cassidy was a part of this match too, versus the Hardy family office. This was a good tag team match. I wasn't bothered by it. It was mainly to pay tribute to Brodie Lee. They were in Rochester, New York, which is the hometown of Brodie Lee, which is where he was going to originally debut last year before COVID messed everything up. Even Matt Hardy alluded to it. He was supposed to debut in Rochester last year, but then he didn't, and he was glad because Rochester stinks and whatnot. I thought the match was fine. The ending of the match was the best part. So Alex Reynolds accidentally bumps into Evil Uno. And, for the last few weeks, mainly I would say a month or two, the Dark Order's been having this dissension. They've been, splitting apart, whatnot. And once that bump happens, Evil Uno walks out. Now, once Evil walks out, Stu Grayson and Cole Cabana follow behind. They're walking up the ramp, and out comes Tay Conti, Anna Jay, Brodie Lee Jr., who accompanied them to the ring, but he's back out, and Amantha Huber, the widow of Brodie Lee. Now, the funniest part was Brodie Lee Jr. taking a rolled up piece of paper and throwing it at the head of Evil Uno, like old times with Brodie Lee Sr. But Amanda Huber, she's like, do this for Brodie, get back into the ring, and they run back into the ring, and right after they run back into the ring, there's just this fiery sequence with all the Dark Order that was so clutch and so cool. And it ended with John Silver getting a pin, and everyone came into the ring and they hugged, and it was a beautiful moment. It was nice, emotional, tugged my heartstrings a little bit. The ending shot of Brodie Lee posing, of like basically in the forefront, and in the background you see the sign of it's Wednesday night, and you know what that means with Brodie Lee like drawn on it was just so awesome. I made a mistake. The Lio Rush segment was after this match, but you understand what happens there. So after this, we had FTR. They're rejuvenated and they're ready to go. That was really it. That was all their promo was. We had a Dan Lambert promo, which I promptly took a shower during. I literally just did not even bother. Right after I got out of the shower, Hikaru Shida was on. I took a quick shower. Hikaru Shida was on, talk about her 50th win coming up in AEW. Serena Deeb comes up as well, and she's talking about how it's not going to be at her expense. Basically, the next week in Philadelphia, because they finally decided to reference Philadelphia. It only took them all of 20 months to do so. But they finally say that officially they're going to be having a match on AEW television next week, and it's going to be good. We then have Tay Conti and Anna Jay versus Penelope Ford and the Bunny. I thought this was a throwaway. It was there. It existed. It was a match that existed. Anna Jay put down Penelope with the sleeper hold, and Brodie Lee Jr. came out, and he hugged, and it was cool. MJF came out for a segment, talking about how the young four pillars of AEW being himself, Jungle Boy, Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin, who he skipped over, mainly acknowledging himself as the best of the four. And he talks about Tony Khan. He likes Tony Khan. Tony Khan is his top 2 Khans in wrestling, obviously being a bit of a nod to Nick Khan in WWE. But that even though he likes Tony Khan, he wants some more opportunities. One of those opportunities being for the AEW Championship. And if he doesn't get that very soon, well, he has an old buddy from MLW named Bruce Pritchard that he has on speed dial. And this brings out Darby Allin. And also, during this promo, we had CM Punk chants. CM Punk is finally back in wrestling. Can we stop with the fucking CM Punk chant for just because you're bored? That shit is just so weird now. Like, back when CM Punk was not there, it was an act of rebellion. Like, if something was boring, you chant CM Punk. CM Punk was literally on commentary during this show. They had no reason to chant CM Punk during this match, during some of these segments. Please stop doing that. It makes no sense to chant CM Punk now, unless he's out there. But this brings out Darby Allin. MJF more or less says Darby Allin looks like a school shooter, which got quite the comment. But Darby Allin is number 2, and MJF will always be number 1. Darby Allin brings up how, even though MJF is number 1, Darby was the first person to win a championship out of the 4 of them. And there's a strand of paper in Darby Allin's hair, which bothers my ADHD a lot. MJF then brings up the story about how Darby Allin is straight edge. The story of his uncle getting drunk one night with the young Darby Allin. I mean, the young Darby Allin wasn't drunk, but his uncle was drunk. Hopped behind the wheel, got into a bad car accident that killed his uncle. Darby Allin survived that car crash. And to this day, that is why Darby Allin is straight edge. It's trauma from the accident. You can see Darby Allin was trying to hold it together during the promo. He was taking deep breaths, closing his eyes, going to his zen. While MJF screamed at Darby that it should have been him instead of the uncle in the car, that the wrong man died that night. You know, very, very hard-hitting stuff. Trying to really get into Darby Allin's psyche. But Darby Allin opens his eyes, and he tells MJF that he knows what he's trying to do, and he's not going to break him mentally. And that he should just keep talking. Keep talking. You're not going to break me mentally. MJF seemed a little bothered by this. By the fact that Darby wasn't moved by this at all. And he said, okay. And he leaves the ring. He tells Wardlow to come on, and he leaves the ring. So now MJF is plotting and scheming, but MJF, he lost this fight. He couldn't move Darby, and he walked away. As all bullies do. But it seems like that's the next program. MJF and Darby Allin probably happening at Full Gear. That should be a match to look forward to. I don't know who's going to win that match. I would like to assume it's probably going to be MJF. But if they're doing this little side arc with Darby and Sting, then I don't know how that favors into this feud. I don't know. It seems like Darby has 2 things going on. It's the Sting and Moxley and Eddie thing, and then it's this MJF feud. So I don't know what they're doing with Darby. I mean, I know what they're doing with Darby, but it's like, maybe figure that out. I don't think you should have 2 arcing storylines at the same time. That's kind of hard to juggle. But I have faith they'll do the right thing. So after this, we got into Miro versus Sammy Guevara for the TNT Championship as the main event of the show. This is a really, really good match that came out with Sammy Guevara getting the victory and becoming the new TNT champion. I like this match. I don't know if I would have had Sammy Guevara be the one to beat Miro. I understand why it happened tonight, obviously being the tribute show to Brodie Lee. Brodie Lee being one of the pioneer TNT champions. Brodie Lee being close with Sammy Guevara. It made sense. I'm wondering if they're going to possibly do a rematch at Full Gear and have Miro win the championship back. That's something that rolled in my head during this match, is that are they going to do a 2-time Miro championship reign? Because I felt like Miro's reign ended prematurely. Even though he had a good reign, I felt like there was more mileage that could have been from Miro's reign. I felt like this ended prematurely. It ended prematurely. I don't mind Sammy being TNT champion. I don't even mind too much that he beat Miro. It's just the timing of it. Like, if you would have waited until Full Gear, cool. If you would have waited until next year, cool. But right now, it just seemed like an odd time to do it. I understand why. I just wouldn't have done it now. But that was AEW Dynamite this week. I enjoyed the show. Let's talk a little bit about Rampage this week. We are getting a Bryan Danielson singles match against one member of the Elite, and that member is Nick Jackson. That match is going to be exciting. Nick Jackson has had some good singles matches, a great singles match with Rey Fenix last year in AEW. He's only had like a couple singles matches in AEW. Nick Jackson facing off against Bryan Danielson. I feel like Bryan Danielson has the potential to bring out Nick Jackson's best match ever. Because Nick Jackson is a high flyer. He can do things that most people his size just can't do. He's that damn good at high flying. And basically that gringo style lucha libre. Bryan Danielson is going to mount him and force him to work his style match. Because Bryan Danielson ain't about to fly around the damn ring like Nick Jackson will. It's going to be a very compelling match. I'm excited for it. We also have Jade Cargill versus Thunder Rosa versus Nyla Rose, the second ever triple threat match in AEW. I'm excited for this match as well to see who wins. I would like to imagine that the person next in line for the championship will win this match. The question is, will they do Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker at Full Gear? If they do the match at Full Gear, I feel like it's a little early for Britt Baker to be losing the championship. So if they want to hold off until maybe Revolution next year, then I would have Jade win this match. I honestly am betting on Jade to win this match. I think Jade wins, and they start setting up Jade versus Britt. And they wait a little bit longer to do Thunder Rosa and Britt, because I think when you do the rematch, I think Thunder Rosa has to win. So if you're gonna do it now and have Thunder Rosa beat her, then that's really only like what, a 5-month reign with Britt as champion, and Britt is like the best thing in the women's division right now. So I definitely don't think it should be ending anytime soon. So I would have Jade win and have Jade be the next in line, because Jade should not be winning it. Jade's still very green. I for the life of me, please do not have me Nyla Rose. I am sick of Nyla Rose championship matches. She's had like 4 of them, bro. Leave that woman out of the championship picture. So yeah, Jade or Thunder Rosa. I more so favor Jade though. And the main event of that show looks to be Orange Cassidy versus Jack Evans in a hair versus hair match. I think Orange Cassidy wins. We're going to see bald Jack Evans, with the continuation of this Orange Cassidy Matt Hardy feud going into Full Gear. Dynamite next week, I will be in attendance for. I'm excited. The card's looking stacked so far. We have Hikaru Shida versus Serena Deeb. I got Hikaru Shida winning. It's going to be really good. Serena Deeb's one of my favorites. We have a Casino Battle Royale ladder match with the winner getting a future World Championship match. They have not announced anybody for this match yet, which I don't know why you didn't announce anybody yet. But if I could throw a few names out there, spitballing, I'm going to say throw in Malachi Black since he beat Cody twice. Throw in Malachi Black. Throw in a Andrade. I say you maybe throw in a Scorpio Sky. He won the last ladder match. It makes sense. Throw in a Rey Fenix. Throw in a few other guys. Maybe, I don't know how many men you want to add in. Maybe 6 or 8. 6, 7. But a lot of people are banking on Hangman Page to be in this match and win the whole thing. Especially considering the Dynamites after this show, this Full Gear show, is going to be in Norfolk, Virginia, which is the hometown of Hangman Page. So it makes sense for Hangman Page to win this match and get the opportunity at Kenny Omega at Full Gear. I don't really like that. I feel like the story between Hangman Page and Kenny Omega is much more deeper than Hangman Page winning a ladder match to get the opportunity. After being gone for 2 months, he loses the opportunity to face Kenny Omega, right? He loses the opportunity in a 6-man tag, or whatever the kind of tag match it was, elimination tag. He loses the opportunity, disappears for like 2 months. He comes back out of the blue, wins a ladder match, and gets the opportunity. That just seems like he's been shoehorned into the spot. I don't like that kind of booking. I think he needs to earn it. Yes, you could say, oh, but he's earning it by the ladder match, but I just feel like storyline wise, it just does not. It makes sense. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense, but I feel like it's kind of lazy. There's a better way to go about Hangman Page getting that championship match than winning a ladder match. Now, if they don't do Hangman Page winning here, then you got to extend out this feud until Revolution next year. Now, I don't know if they're going to stretch it out that long or how they can stretch it out for that long. Maybe that might be the best thing to do. Maybe the best course of action is to stretch that out to Revolution next year, where you have more time to possibly build up Hangman Page again. Because Hangman Page has been gone for 2 months. I feel like if you haven't won this match, he's been shoehorned into the spot. And I don't think it's time. I don't think it's time right now. I think with him having that time off, he needs time to get hot again. You have Hangman Page going into this match with Kenny Omega, though you have other guys who are hotter than him. I just feel like it's not the time right now. I don't know who wins, but it should be Hangman Page. It should be Hangman Page. Now, on the topic of Full Gear, they have announced that show will be taking place in Minneapolis, Minnesota, at the Target Center, a 19,000-seat arena. Originally, they announced the Target Center for Rampage before Full Gear, but it looks like now it's going to be Rampage and Full Gear. Now, I don't know why they're booking a 2-day long Rampage. I mean, a 2-day long 19,000-seat arena show. Like, they sold out the Queens show. That was the first time they were in Queens, New York. They sold out. New York is a very hot wrestling crowd. And they had Bryan Danielson's debut. CM Punk was on the show. Rampage is a 1-hour show. How are they going to do a show that big right before Full Gear? That I'm not understanding. I'm not understanding how they in their mind they're going to sell out Rampage before they sell out Full Gear. I don't know how they're going to pull that off. I'm sure they'll do good numbers. I don't see that Rampage show selling out. Full Gear, more than likely. Rampage, I don't think so. I think they bit off more than they could chew that time. But listen, if they prove me wrong, I'll say I'm wrong. And you know what? I shouldn't be down in AEW. Maybe they will do it. But I don't know. I'm questioning that decision of booking Rampage and Full Gear in the same arena. 19,000 seats. I don't know about that one, Chief. But listen, we got to talk about TBS. We knew from earlier in the year that AEW Rampage and Dynamite were moving to TBS, but it came as an announcement earlier last week that not only will they not be moving to TNT. I mean, Spotsylvania. Let me drink some water here. Need to quench my thirst. Not only are they keeping one of the shows on TNT, that being Rampage, they're keeping that on TNT, but AEW is moving Dynamite to TBS on January the 5th. Next year. January 5th of 2022, AEW Dynamite is moving to TBS, and there is rumored to be a TBS championship coming very soon. That is also rumored to be a women's championship. So, looks like AEW's Dynamite show is going to be having its own slot on TNT, a prime spot on TNT. And Dynamite is still staying a prime position on Wednesdays at 8 to 10, but just now on a different channel. This one being cable, so it's going to be more universal, more susceptible, more streamable. I could not figure out the word there. Streamable to a wider audience, being that it's on TBS, which is more accessible in more homes. The TBS Championship. Assuming that championship is going to be mainly on Dynamite, are they moving the Women's Championship over to Rampage, is my question. Is somebody like a Britt Baker going to be centered on Rampage now? That is the real question. Who do I think should win the TBS Championship? I think it should be a Jade Cargill. I think it's a Jade Cargill, or maybe it's somebody else. We'll see when they announce the tournament. I'll have a better understanding of it. New Japan Pro Wrestling. They have been having some good matches in their G1 Climax. I've been checking out some here and there. But they announced a few tours in the last few months that they'll be coming to in the United States, some in Virginia, some here, some there. One of those being Philadelphia. Now, originally, I was not going to the show because I just not vested in New Japan. But then they announced a few matches that I just could not resist. And then last week, they announced one match that completely sold me on one of the shows. That match being Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston versus Lance Archer and Minoru Suzuki in a Philadelphia street fight. And with that said, I bought the ticket. I bought my ticket. Me and my friend Wesley are going. George was supposed to be going, but he had some obligations to fill, so George will not be going to the show. But we'll get him next time. So I figured I'd take a second to preview this show, this card that looks so damn good. So they're having two shows, one on October 16th, one on October 17th. I have my ticket for the 17th. I'll be getting my ticket for the 16th probably in the next few days. But on October 16th, we have 5 matches confirmed. We have Arya Daivari. I could not say his name right. Arya Daivari versus Alex Zane. I have not really seen a good Arya Daivari match, but I've seen plenty of good Alex Zane matches. So I'm excited for that. I'm going to say Alex Zane wins that. We have Will Ospreay and TJP. I have gotten the word that TJP and Aussie Open are the newest acquisitions to Will Ospreay's faction United Empire. So that's cool. They will be facing off against Ren Narita and Clark Connors. I got Will Ospreay and TJP winning. We have Jay White versus Fred Yehi of Ring of Honor. That should be really good. Jay White's winning that. We have Juice Robinson versus El Fantasmo. That's actually going to be really interesting. I got El Fantasmo, ELPP. And the main event of the show, I'm super amped for. Minoru Suzuki goes one-on-one with Chris Dickinson. Now, I'm super amped for this because Chris Dickinson is one of the most stiffest, like, one of the most badass guys in independent wrestling. Now, I mean, some of his matches are a little much for me, the way he works, but he's a guy who's very passionate about Japanese-style wrestling, and you can just tell from interviews, and I spoke to him before, he's so passionate about Japanese wrestling, and I know that this will be a dream match for him. So just for the fact that I know that Chris Dickinson would want to face Suzuki, and now he's facing Suzuki, I want to be there to see it. So I'm excited for this match. I wholly expect Suzuki to win, but this is going to be really cool. Really, really cool. The 17th is a stacked day. We have Lio Rush and Arya Daivari versus El Fantasmo and Chris Bay. Bro, Lio Rush and Chris Bay standing across the ring from each other. Give me all the money right now. Just give it to me. Give it to me, bro. Give it to me. I'm hyped. I got El Fantasmo and Chris Bay to win. Bullet Club stay strong. Jay White and Hikuleo versus Fred Yehi and Wheeler Yuta. Wheeler Yuta is a Philly native, so that's crazy. That's hype. Fred Yehi, I think he's also Philly native too. But Jay White again, I'm excited. I get to meet Jay White. I got Bullet Club winning. We have a big tag team match. You have Fred Rosser, Carl Fredericks, Rocky Romero, Ren Narita, and the DKC versus Tom Muller, JR Kratos, Royce Isaacs, Jarrell Nelson, and Danny Limelight. A lot of guys involved in this match. I'm just excited to see Ren Narita and Rocky Romero wrestle. I'm going to go with Team Rocky, Ren, DKC, Carl Fredericks, and Fred Rosser. We have Jonathan Gresham versus Alex Coughlin. Nice to see Jonathan Gresham back in a New Japan ring. I got Gresham winning. We have Will Ospreay versus Alex Zane. Alex Zane, one of the most prime high flyers of the independent scene. I'll be honest. Because I've known Alex Zane since 2019. When he got signed to WWE and was going to the NXT roster, I was happy for the guy, but I knew it just was not going to end well for him. I don't know what it was about him but I just had a feeling it was not going to work. I just had that feeling it was not going to work for him. And he got released. You know, it's sad, but hey, he's back where he belongs on the indies. And listen, he's back where he belongs where he originally was before he signed with NXT, and that's in New Japan. And now here he is facing the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. Not a title match, But Will Ospreay, though he has adapted his style, at his core, he's a crazy high flyer. So this is going to be a spotty, nice match. Maybe Will Ospreay can take Alexander to his best singles match ever. It's going to be a nice action-packed match. I'm excited for it. I got Will Ospreay winning. And then the main event, Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston versus Minoru Suzuki and Lance Archer. Given that Jon Moxley is beating Minoru Suzuki back-to-back now, Eddie Kingston, he got the win in the last match. But Jon Moxley faced off against Suzuki in AEW singles-wise and beat him there. I think Suzuki and Lance Archer are due back for a win here. I got Suzuki-gun winning this match. And that's my preview for NJPW Showdown. So next week, Dynamite, 2 weeks, New Japan Strong. I'm excited. A whole 6 weeks full of wrestling for me. A nice way to go out and end 2021. Q&A portion of the podcast. Let's get into it. First one comes from Icon Watanabe. SVR07 is not the best SVR. That's more of a statement than anything. I disagree. I believe it is the best SmackDown versus Raw. If it's not that, then what is it? I mean, if you go down the line, if I could rank SVRs here real quick, I would say SVR09 is first. After SVR09, I would say the original SVR. That holds a special place in my heart. After the original SVR, I would say SVR06, then SVR08, SVR10, then 11, then 09, and then that's it. That's all the SVRs. That's how I'll rank my SVRs. Will you be doing a WWE SVR 2007 GM mode? Listen. I'm not opposed to it, but I didn't know people want me to play it. I'm going to be doing an experiment on Twitch for the next month where I'll be Twitch streaming a lot. I'll be doing a lot of live reactions, a lot of gameplay for the next month of October. So if you guys want to see some SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 GM mode, I will happily play it on Twitch and upload VODs to YouTube. But I want to hear from you guys if you guys want to see that. I see one person, but if there is a good majority of people who want to see it, we will do it. Me and George, I'll buckle him down and we will play GM mode. Wayleon Long asks, do you like K-pop? If not, will you try it? I have tried K-pop a little bit. So to put it into perspective, I went on a date with a girl a few months ago, and she was big into K-pop. She made me a K-pop playlist, and I listened to it, and I was like, I mean, it's fine. There's 2 songs on there that I liked. And listen, I watch my fair share of animes. I've watched my fair share of Japanese wrestling, so I'm not opposed to listening to foreign music at all. One of my favorite Japanese songs is You Can Do It by Domino, which was an end credit song from Naruto. Another one being Win by Akibone. There's another one which I cannot think of the name of, but there's a few ones. There's a few Japanese songs that I like. K-pop, not really for me. Not really for me. I'm not opposed to listening to it, but it's not. It's. I don't have a K-pop playlist. I don't have any K-pop songs in my playlist. Nah. Maybe I haven't heard the right K-pop song. Who knows? He also asked, "What is your favorite title design?" The WWF Championship from 2000 to 2001 that Triple H and Stone Cold held. It was after the Winged Eagle, and it was before the Undisputed Championship. That is my favorite belt design. Scoots Bonds. Hey, brother, long time no talk. My question, where exactly is Powerhouse Hobbs in that pic? Looks uncomfortable. So the picture I posted for the Q&A was a picture of me photoshopped sitting next to Hook, who's eating a bag of hot Cheetos, trying to talk to Hook. But in the picture, I didn't realize this, but I photoshopped me directly on top of Powerhouse Hobbs' head, which is not at all what I was going for at all. But yeah, I'm sitting on his head, so that was not at all the intent of the picture. I didn't realize that until you said it, but that it is what it is at this point. Ikater Hossein, I don't know how to pronounce your name correctly. Please tell me how to pronounce your name next time. Thoughts on the Forbidden Door? Like I said earlier in the podcast, it is an open door policy, bro. The door is busted wide open. We've seen the likes of Minoru Suzuki, Yuji Nagata, Satoshi Kojima, Tanahashi to an extent. We've seen on Dynamite. We've seen Carl Anderson. We've seen Doc Gallows. We've seen Kiera Hogan. We've seen so many wrestlers from so many different companies that it is not a forbidden door anymore, bro. It's not a forbidden door. But I love it. I love that AEW is so open to working with these promotions. The wrestling business needed this desperately. And I love it a lot. Keep it going. That's all I could say. Keep it going. Emo Poser. Which Joshi wrestlers, any, or not currently in the US, could make an impact in AEW? Okay. So, AEW's women's division is in a better spot than it was earlier in the year. But I feel like they still have a ways to go. And when I say early in the year, I don't mean the very beginning of the year when they were doing the women's tournament, because that's when they were actually doing something with them. I mean like mid-year, like April to like maybe August, when they were kind of like figuring stuff out with them. They're in a better spot now, but they still have some things to figure out with the women's division. So until they can really figure it out, I don't know if they should be getting any more with Joshi's in. I mean, they have 3. They have Riho, who they barely use. They have Shida, who they barely used up until like next week. I mean, think about it. Hikaru Shida was the AEW Women's World Champion. Not the inaugural champion, but the second champion, and held that title for a calendar year. And what happened after she lost the title? She got relegated to Dark for like 3 months. Literally, this is her first match on AEW Dynamite since losing the championship in May of this year. That was 4 months ago. 4 months ago that she lost that championship. And this is her first match on Dynamite since then. That's ridiculous, if you ask me. That is ridiculous. Serena Deeb, I love her, but she's definitely losing next week. You also have Emi Sakura, who they have Emi Sakura in the States as we speak right now. Right now. She's a talented woman, many years of experience, entertaining, but they don't use her on Dynamite at all. She's only on Dark Elevation. I don't get it. I really don't get it. So, who could benefit them? There's a lot of women that could benefit them. Momo Watanabe is one of them. You know, she's not being used super properly on Stardom right now. Momo could benefit from that. You could have anybody from the Stardom roster, the TJPW roster can go over. Maybe bring back Yuka Sakazaki. But if they ain't going to be using the women right, I don't know, bro. Now listen, the TBS Championship is coming into play. That means that we might be getting more women's action. And they just signed Kiera Hogan. I'll reserve judgment. I'll reserve a little bit of judgment for a little bit longer. But as of right now, I don't think they should be getting any more talent until they use the ones they have now. They're doing a great job of Britt Baker. They were doing a really good job of Ruby Soho. But that's 2 women out of like 20 they have. Let's see how they use the rest of the 18. We have another question in here from CV4200. The AEW Women's Division is growing, but they're still pretty green and barely used on TV. Would you be in favor of sending some of them on excursion to Joshi promotions AEW has worked with? I'm not opposed to that. It definitely would get AEW's name out there in Joshi promotions. Like, imagine seeing Jade Cargill work in Stardom for a little bit. Now, the reason why that won't happen is because of COVID. But imagine a Jade Cargill or the fucking Bunny could desperately use it, or the Bunny in, I don't know, TJPW. I think that would be an amazing idea. However, because of COVID, that's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen, sadly. I would love to see it. I think Jade Cargill is definitely the first person. Maybe Anna Jay. And I'm not saying these women are bad wrestlers, but, you know, there's a few I would definitely send on an excursion to improve and hone their skill. Darling Boy comes in with the last question. Which AEW storyline currently do you feel is the weakest? And could you break down the flaws in it? As I said earlier, the weakest storyline is the Andrade versus Pac and Lucha Bros storyline. And the flaws being that Andrade really desperately wants the Lucha Bros to join his faction. And that has been the entire story for all of 2 to 3 months now. And Pac is like, no, I don't want them to join your posse. They're my posse. And then that's really all the story. That's really all the promos they do every single week. There's nothing different about the promo they did this week than the one they did a month ago, than the one they did 2 months ago. It's not different at all. They're not innovating it or changing it up. There's no matches between Andrade and Lucha Bros. There's been nothing. It's been one singles match between Andrade and Pac. They had a really good match, but that's been it. This storyline is weak. You want to know another weak storyline? The Ricky Starks and Ricky Starks and Brian Cage. And I don't even know if that's a storyline anymore. They might have just completely iced that one. But that storyline has been dragging out for months. They turned on Ricky Starks. I mean, Ricky Starks turned on I keep on saying the wrong names, bro. Ricky Starks turned on Brian Cage like back in what? Back in June? And they've been on and off. They did one match. And then that's it. And then for the last 2-3 weeks, I've seen no word of this feud. No words of Brian Cage. Nothing. So that's another weak storyline. And with that one, either do the match or drop it. Because I don't know what they're doing. And with the Andrade and Lucha Bros and Pac ensemble, they need to do a tag team match. They need to do a 6-man tag with Andrade and 2 other luchadors, have the match, and boom. Then you can either have the Lucha Bros join Andrade or have them decide they're going to stick with Pac and move on, because the storyline is not going anywhere. I thought it ended after Andrade beat Pac, but I guess it's not over, so I don't know. Out of every other storyline in AEW, all the other ones are good to great. These are the only 2 that are weak, but it's not like insultingly weak. It's just like, you know, they could do better. They could do way better. That's how I see it. But guys, that was Chill Spill Pro Wrestling episode 67. What do you guys think? Comment down below. Let your boy know. I love you as always. Make sure you go to Podbean right now. That is chillspillprores.podbean.com, and follow this podcast, because this podcast always goes up on Podbean first before anywhere else. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, Tyler Williams YT. Go follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/suplex, and go follow me on TikTok, suplex, SOOPLEX, and I will see you all next Wednesday. Peace out, guys.